Mental Alchemy. Turn doubt into power with esoteric knowledge. Before we dive into this powerful audiobook, make sure to hit the like button if you're ready to learn something life-changing. Your support helps bring more audiobooks like this to the channel. Introduction: The Alchemy of the Mind. The universe speaks in symbols, revealing itself to those who have the eyes to see and the heart to understand. Within each of us lies a philosopher's stone, the sacred key to alchemical transformation, a power that can transmute fear into wisdom, doubt into certainty, and ignorance into enlightened mastery. This book, born from the timeless corridors of occult knowledge, will serve as your guide to understanding the hidden mechanics of the mind, the true crucible of personal and spiritual transformation. Through the wisdom of Gnosticism, Hermeticism, and Rosicrucianism, you will learn how to turn mental lead into spiritual gold, mastering the art of mental alchemy. In the ancient teachings, alchemy was viewed as both an art and a science, aimed at the transformation of base metals into gold. But those with deeper understanding know that this process was never solely about the physical realm. True alchemy concerns the soul, the mind, and the spirit. The external transformation of matter was a mirror for the internal transformation of self. Mental alchemy, therefore, is the art of transforming limiting beliefs, doubts, and fears into strength, wisdom, and power. It is the process by which one purifies the mind, aligning it with the eternal principles that govern the universe. Every human being is both a master and a slave to the mind, depending on how it is wielded. The mind can be a prison or a gateway to infinite potential. It is in the mind that all experiences are processed, and it is the mind that creates the boundaries of what is possible. When harnessed, the mind becomes the most powerful tool for manifestation, a crucible where thought turns into form. This is the essence of mental alchemy. Just as an alchemist understands the nature of metals and their transformation, so too must we understand the nature of thought and the transformation it can undergo when directed by conscious will. The wisdom of the ancients reveals that each of us already holds within our minds the philosopher's stone, the power to reshape our reality. What separates the initiated from the uninitiated is not talent or circumstance, but knowledge. The initiate understands that reality is malleable, that thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are the building blocks of creation. To transform one's reality, one must first transform the mind. This alchemical process requires dedication, discipline, and the willingness to face the darkness within, for it is only through navigating the shadow that one can emerge into the light. As we embark on this journey together, you will be introduced to teachings that transcend time and space, drawn from the arcane wisdom of the Hermetic philosophers, the Gnostic seekers, and the Rosicrucian masters. These teachings will not only serve to expand your understanding but will also provide practical tools for applying this knowledge to your own life. The alchemy of the mind is an ancient art, but its application is profoundly modern. In this age of materialism and distraction, the ability to master your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs is more important than ever. The path before you is one of self-discovery and empowerment, where doubt is transmuted into power and where the limitations of the old self give way to the boundless potential of the new. Chapter 1. The Mind as the Alchemical Crucible. The mind, like the crucible of the alchemist, is the vessel in which transformation occurs. In the ancient practice of alchemy, the physical crucible was heated and purified to allow for the transmutation of base metals into gold. So, too, must the mind undergo a similar process. It must be cleansed of impurities, doubts, and fears before it can become a tool for higher creation. In the hidden chambers of esoteric wisdom, this transmutation of thought and belief was seen as the most essential work. To master the mind is to gain control over the very fabric of reality, for all that we experience is first conceived within the mind. The principle of solve et coagula, meaning dissolve and coagulate, is one of the foundational precepts of alchemy. It speaks to the need for breaking down old, limiting patterns of thought and belief, the dissolution, so that something new and elevated can emerge in their place, the coagulation. Within the crucible of the mind, we are continuously dissolving the past, letting go of outdated mental structures that no longer serve us, and then reassembling our thoughts in ways that align with higher truths and greater possibilities. The alchemist understands that this process is not just mental but spiritual, for in transforming the mind, we elevate the soul. In Rosicrucian thought, the mind is seen as the gateway to higher consciousness, the portal through which one must pass in order to attain enlightenment. Yet, the mind is often clouded by external influences, societal conditioning, fears passed down from generations, and the distractions of the material world. To begin the work of mental alchemy, one must first observe these mental impurities. Much like the alchemist examining his materials before the work begins, you must become the detached observer of your own thoughts, recognizing where doubt and fear have taken root, and where the limitations of your thinking hold you back from your true potential. The ancient mystics understood that the mind is not just a passive receiver of experience, it is an active creator. The thoughts we entertain, the beliefs we hold, and the emotions we allow to persist are all shaping the reality we experience. When the mind is in alignment with higher principles, truth, love, and wisdom, it becomes a powerful tool for manifestation. When the mind is filled with fear, doubt, and negativity, it creates blocks and obstacles. Thus, the first step in mental alchemy is to purify the mind, to clear it of the distortions and illusions that obscure its creative power. As you embark on your journey of mental alchemy, begin by observing your mental patterns. What are the recurring doubts or fears that seem to plague your thoughts? What beliefs about yourself, others, or the world limit your sense of what is possible? This is your prima materia, the base material you will work with in your alchemical process. Just as the alchemist begins with base metal and transforms it into gold, you must begin with these raw, unrefined thoughts and transmute them into something far greater. The mind is your crucible, and the power to reshape it lies entirely within you. As we proceed further into this work, you will be guided through the practices and principles that will enable you to dissolve the old and coagulate the new, to transform the lead of limiting beliefs into the gold of enlightened consciousness. Chapter 2. Overcoming the illusion of fear and doubt. Fear and doubt are like the shadows that distort the mind's clarity. They are the veils that obscure the light of inner truth, and they are the chains that bind the soul to a false sense of limitation. In esoteric traditions, fear is often regarded as an illusion, a trick of the lower mind, or ego, that keeps the soul from recognizing its divine power. This illusion is deeply embedded in the psyche and perpetuated by societal conditioning and personal experiences of failure or rejection. Yet, all esoteric teachings, from Gnosticism to Hermeticism, speak to the fact that fear, while it appears real, is but a temporary construct. The goal of the true seeker is to dissolve these illusions and reclaim the sovereignty of the mind. The ancient Gnostics understood fear as part of the material illusion created by the demiurge, a false god or entity that traps the soul in ignorance. The demiurge represents the external world and its hold over human consciousness, keeping individuals tethered to the belief that they are powerless and at the mercy of external forces. In this worldview, fear is a manifestation of ignorance of the true nature of the self, which is eternal and connected to the divine. To transcend fear, the Gnostics taught that one must attain gnosis, inner knowledge of the divine spark within, which is immune to the limitations of the material world. Fear dissolves in the light of this knowledge because the soul recognizes that it is beyond harm, beyond limitation, and beyond death. In both Eastern and Western mystical traditions, Fear is likened to the illusion of Maya in Hinduism or the concept of the veil in Kabbalistic mysticism. Maya refers to the world of appearances that deceives the mind, leading it to believe in separation, lack, and fear. Kabbalah teaches that the veil is the barrier that conceals the true nature of reality, keeping the soul trapped in lower dimensions of thought. In both traditions, the task of the seeker is to pierce through these veils of illusion, to see beyond the external forms, and to reconnect with the infinite, fearless essence that lies beneath. Fear cannot exist in the realm of truth, for truth reveals the inherent unity of all things and the invulnerability of the soul. Mental alchemy teaches that the transmutation of fear begins by confronting it directly. Fear thrives in the dark, where it remains unexamined and unchallenged. But when brought into the light of awareness, it begins to lose its power. To alchemize fear, one must first acknowledge its presence without judgment, seeing it not as an enemy but as a guide that points to areas of inner work. Fear often reveals the parts of ourselves that remain hidden or disowned, those aspects of the psyche that have not yet been integrated into wholeness. As Carl Jung, the great depth psychologist and mystic, said, "What you resist persists. What you embrace transforms." To overcome the illusion of fear, one must cultivate a new relationship with it, a relationship based not on avoidance, but on inquiry and understanding. Begin by identifying the fears that have taken root in your mind. What is it that you are most afraid of? Is it failure, rejection, loss, or perhaps even success? Once identified, bring your awareness to the deeper layers of these fears. Are they rooted in past experiences or societal expectations? Do they arise from a misunderstanding of your own power or potential? In this process of self-inquiry, fear begins to dissolve, not because it is forcefully eradicated, but because it is understood. With understanding comes liberation, and with liberation, the mind is freed from its false attachments. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools in transmuting fear into power. In your mind's eye, imagine the fear as a dark cloud that has surrounded you. See it clearly, feel its presence, and allow it to exist without trying to push it away. Then, imagine a brilliant light radiating from the center of your being. This light is your true self, the divine spark that exists beyond all limitation. As this light grows brighter, it begins to dissolve the dark cloud, transforming it into pure energy that you can now direct toward higher purposes. In this way, fear becomes the fuel for your empowerment, transmuted through the alchemical fire of awareness. The illusion fades, and what remains is the recognition of your inherent power, free from the shadows of doubt. Chapter 3. The Hermetic Principles, Laws of Mental Mastery. The mind, as the Hermeticists teach, is the foundation of all creation. The all is mind. The universe is mental. This is the first Hermetic principle, the law of mentalism. In this principle lies the key to understanding how reality itself is shaped by thought and consciousness. Everything we perceive, everything we experience, begins first in the mind, and from there, it is projected into the material world. The mind is the alchemical crucible where the base metals of doubt, fear, and limitation are transformed into the gold of success, power, and wisdom. To master your life, you must first master your mind, and to master your mind, you must align yourself with the Hermetic principles that govern all mental and spiritual processes. The second Hermetic principle is the law of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This principle reveals the profound truth that the macrocosm and the microcosm are reflections of one another. The universe is a mirror of the mind, and the mind is a reflection of the universe. By understanding and mastering the workings of your inner world, your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, you can affect and shape the outer world. If there is chaos in your life, it is a reflection of chaos within the mind. If there is harmony, it is because your inner world has become aligned with higher principles. This correspondence between inner and outer, between the mental and the material, offers the seeker the key to dominion over their reality. The third principle, the law of vibration, teaches that nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. In the world of esoteric thought, everything is seen as energy, and energy vibrates at different frequencies. Thoughts, emotions, and physical objects all vibrate at different levels, and by changing the frequency of your thoughts, you can change the reality that you experience. Negative thoughts and beliefs vibrate at a lower frequency, keeping you trapped in dense, limiting states of consciousness. Positive, empowered thoughts vibrate at higher frequencies, aligning you with greater opportunities, wisdom, and strength. Mental alchemy, therefore, is about learning to raise the vibratory rate of your thoughts, aligning them with the higher planes of existence where success, power, and peace are natural states. The fourth principle, the law of polarity, tells us that everything has its opposite, and that opposites are merely different degrees of the same thing. Hot and cold, light and dark, success and failure, fear and courage. These are all polarities, and by understanding this law, the seeker can transmute one state into its opposite. If you are experiencing fear, know that courage exists within the same spectrum. If you are faced with failure, remember that success is the other side of the same coin. The practice of mental alchemy involves recognizing the polarities in your life and learning to shift from one pole to the other by changing your mental focus. This principle is particularly powerful when applied to emotional states. By consciously shifting your focus from a negative pole to a positive one, you can change your experience and reality. The fifth principle, the law of rhythm, teaches that everything flows in cycles, and that there is a natural ebb and flow to all things. Just as the tides rise and fall, so too do the rhythms of our lives. There are times of growth and expansion, followed by periods of contraction and rest. Understanding this principle allows the seeker to remain centered and balanced, even in the face of life's fluctuations. The key to mastery lies in learning to rise above the swing of the pendulum, to remain steady in both success and challenge, knowing that all things are temporary and will return to equilibrium. When you align yourself with the natural rhythms of life, you move with the flow of universal energy, rather than against it, and this brings a sense of peace and power. The sixth principle, the law of cause and effect, teaches that every action has a reaction. This law governs all aspects of existence, from the physical to the mental and spiritual. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is the result of some cause. To master your mind and your life, you must take responsibility for the causes that you set in motion through your thoughts, words, and deeds. By consciously creating positive causes, you set in motion a series of effects that lead to success, empowerment, and transformation. Understanding this principle frees you from the illusion of victimhood and gives you the power to shape your destiny. The final principle, the law of gender, reveals that all things contain both masculine and feminine energies. These forces are not related to physical gender but represent the creative and receptive aspects of existence. The masculine energy is active, dynamic, and assertive, while the feminine energy is receptive, nurturing, and intuitive. In the practice of mental alchemy, it is essential to balance these energies within oneself. To be overly masculine in thought leads to aggression and imbalance, while being overly feminine in thought leads to passivity and stagnation. The goal is to harmonize these forces, to be both the creator and the receiver, the thinker and the feeler. When the masculine and feminine energies within are balanced, the mind becomes a perfect vessel for creation, capable of manifesting both power and wisdom. To master these Hermetic principles is to master the art of mental transmutation. By applying the law of mentalism, you become the creator of your reality. By understanding correspondence, you align your inner and outer worlds. Through vibration, you raise your mental frequency to attract higher states of being. With polarity, you shift from negative to positive states. Rhythm teaches you to flow with life's cycles, cause and effect empowers you to create the outcomes you desire, and gender allows you to balance creation and reception. In practicing these principles, you unlock the keys to mental mastery, turning doubt into power and creating the reality of your highest potential. Chapter 4. The Esoteric Power of Belief. Belief is the architect of reality. In the ancient schools of wisdom, both East and West, the power of belief has long been regarded as the force that shapes the fabric of our experience. In Gnosticism, it is said that the demiurge, the false creator god, wove the material world through ignorance, entrapping souls in illusions. Similarly, Hermeticism teaches that belief is a tool of creation, both in the mundane world and the higher realms. What one believes to be true is reflected in the patterns of their life, as belief becomes the foundation upon which reality is constructed. Just as a potter molds clay, belief molds the structure of the mind, influencing actions, reactions, and, ultimately, outcomes. The process of mental alchemy begins with the realization that beliefs are not passive states of mind. They are active forces that either limit or liberate. In the esoteric traditions, the mind is viewed as a divine tool, a microcosmic reflection of the creative power of the universe. Belief is the medium through which this creative force flows. To change the outer conditions of your life, you must first change the beliefs that govern your inner world. When a belief is rooted in limitation, fear, or doubt, it creates barriers that prevent the natural flow of success, abundance, and fulfillment. The mind becomes a prison, confined by the false boundaries imposed by these beliefs. Conversely, when a belief is rooted in possibility, empowerment, and spiritual truth, it becomes a gateway to infinite potential. The key to mastering belief, therefore, lies in discerning which beliefs are aligned with your higher self and which are remnants of fear, ignorance, or conditioning. The power of belief extends far beyond the individual mind. It influences collective reality as well. The Hermetic principle of mentalism teaches that the all is mind, and within this cosmic mind, individual beliefs contribute to the formation of collective experiences. When many minds hold similar beliefs, they create shared realities that manifest as cultural norms, societal structures, and collective events. The esoteric practitioner understands that by changing their personal beliefs, they are also contributing to the transformation of the collective mind. This is why ancient spiritual orders, such as the Rosicrucians, placed such emphasis on self-mastery through belief. They understood that the personal is always a reflection of the universal. By purifying their beliefs and aligning them with divine principles, they not only transformed their individual lives but also uplifted the consciousness of humanity. Belief, in its most potent form, becomes a magical tool. In occultism, belief is the driving force behind ritual and manifestation. A belief, when held with unwavering certainty, acts as a magnet, drawing to the individual the people, circumstances, and energies that align with that belief. This is why belief is often equated with faith in spiritual traditions. Faith is not blind or passive. It is an active state of knowing that what is believed will come to pass. The practice of mental alchemy requires that you cultivate this kind of faith, faith in your own power, faith in the benevolent forces of the universe, and faith in your ability to transmute doubt into confidence. To wield belief as a tool of manifestation, you must first identify the beliefs that serve you and those that do not. Once identified, limiting beliefs must be transmuted into empowering ones, much like an alchemist transforms lead into gold. One of the most profound teachings on the power of belief comes from the concept of the I am, a core tenet in esoteric and mystical traditions. The I Am represents the highest truth of existence, the realization of the divine within each individual. When you declare, I am, whatever follows these words becomes your reality. If you say, I am weak, you manifest weakness. If you say, I am powerful, you invoke the energies of strength and resilience. The I am is not merely an affirmation, it is an invocation of the divine creative force within you. The Gnostics believed that through gnosis, or direct knowledge of the divine, one could awaken to their true nature as a reflection of the divine mind. This awakening dismantles the false beliefs that the material world and the ego perpetuate. By claiming your I am with conviction, you reclaim your sovereignty and activate the full potential of your mind to create, manifest, and transform. As you move deeper into the practice of mental alchemy, it is crucial to develop rituals and practices that reinforce empowering beliefs. Visualization is a powerful tool in this process. By visualizing yourself embodying the beliefs you wish to cultivate, whether it be strength, wisdom, abundance, or peace, you begin to impress these ideas upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious, which operates on imagery and emotion, responds to the vivid pictures you create, gradually reshaping your mental and emotional landscape to align with these new beliefs. Another potent practice is the use of affirmations. These are not mere positive statements. In esoteric terms, affirmations are verbal spells, declarations of intent that resonate with the energy of creation. When repeated with intention and belief, they anchor new realities into your consciousness. The process of transforming belief is not instantaneous. It is a gradual unfolding, much like the alchemical process itself. Just as an alchemist must be patient as they work through the stages of transformation, dissolving the old to make way for the new, so too must you be patient with yourself as you reframe and transmute your beliefs. There will be moments of resistance, as the ego and the subconscious mind cling to the safety of the familiar, even when the familiar is limiting. But through persistence and faith in your own power, you will gradually break free from these constraints and enter a new state of consciousness where your beliefs support your highest potential. In the end, mastering belief is mastering reality. When you understand that your thoughts and beliefs are not merely passive reflections of the world but active creators of it, you reclaim your role as the alchemist of your life. You realize that doubt and fear are illusions, forms of spiritual lead, that can be transmuted into the gold of wisdom, power, and success. The Hermetic, Gnostic, and Rosicrucian traditions all point to the same truth. You are not bound by the limitations of the material world or the beliefs imposed upon you by society, family, or circumstance. You are a divine being, capable of shaping your reality according to the highest principles of truth, love, and wisdom. Through the power of belief, you hold the keys to the universe within you. All that is required is the courage to unlock the door. Chapter 5. Alchemy of Emotion. Transmuting lower desires into higher will. In the alchemical process of personal transformation, emotions play a central role. Like the elements of fire, water, earth, and air, emotions possess immense power that can either enslave or liberate the soul. From an esoteric perspective, emotions are the raw material of spiritual alchemy, the prima materia, that must be purified and elevated to attain higher states of consciousness. Rosicrucianism and other mystical traditions have long taught that emotions, particularly those rooted in fear, anger, and desire, must be transmuted into higher forms of energy that align with the divine will. Emotions are not to be repressed, but rather transformed, for within their intensity lies the seed of true spiritual power. By harnessing this force, the adept transforms the lower self into the higher, evolving from a creature driven by base instincts into a master of inner and outer reality. At the heart of this alchemical transmutation is the Hermetic axiom, as within, so without. This principle reminds us that the external world reflects the inner emotional and mental states. When fear, desire, or anger dominates the inner world, it projects outward as conflict, struggle, and limitation. Conversely, when these emotions are transformed into love, willpower, and divine intent, they reshape the outer world into one of harmony, strength, and opportunity. The Gnostics spoke of the archons, entities or forces of the lower mind that enslave the soul by keeping it bound to lower emotions and desires. These archons, in the context of personal alchemy, can be seen as symbols of unrefined emotional energies, anger, greed, lust, and fear, that, when left unchecked, corrupt the purity of the soul and obscure the path to enlightenment. To transmute these lower emotions into higher will, one must first confront them directly. Fear, anger, and desire must be seen not as enemies, but as teachers. Each emotion contains within it a hidden lesson, an opportunity for growth and mastery. Fear, for example, arises from the ego's attachment to control and survival. But when transmuted, fear becomes courage, the willingness to face the unknown and trust in the divine process. Anger, often rooted in frustration or unmet expectations, can be refined into clarity and focused willpower, driving the individual to act with purpose rather than react with impulse. Desire, when unchecked, can lead to attachment and suffering, but when sublimated, it becomes a force of creative inspiration, aligned with higher spiritual goals rather than material cravings. The process of emotional alchemy requires discipline and self-awareness. In the Rosicrucian tradition, this transformation is symbolized by the rose growing from the cross, a symbol of the soul, the rose, blossoming through the trials of the material world, the cross. The cross represents the burdens of earthly existence, including the emotional struggles we face. But just as the rose emerges in beauty and fragrance from the thorns, so too does the soul evolve through its emotional trials. The key to this evolution lies in the adept's ability to remain present and mindful, observing emotions as they arise without being consumed by them. This detachment is not a rejection of emotion, but a recognition of its transient nature. Emotions are like the elements, fluid, ever-changing, but also capable of being directed and transformed by the will. Esoteric practices offer numerous techniques for transmuting lower emotions into higher spiritual energy. One such practice is the use of breathwork to harmonize the emotional body. In many mystical traditions, including Hermeticism and Rosicrucianism, breath is seen as the bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. By controlling the breath, the adept can calm the mind, regulate the emotions, and direct the flow of energy within the body. This practice, often called pranayama in Eastern traditions, allows one to become aware of emotional blockages and release them through focused breathing. Visualization is another powerful tool for emotional alchemy. The adept may visualize emotions like fear or anger as dark, heavy energies, and through the power of the mind and breath, see these energies transformed into light, flowing upwards like a flame rising from a candle. This mental imagery helps to reprogram the subconscious mind, reinforcing the belief that emotions are fluid and can be changed at will. Symbols and sacred words also play a vital role in the transmutation of emotions. In the Western esoteric tradition, the use of sigils, mantras, and invocations aligns the practitioner's energy with higher frequencies, helping to elevate emotional states. For example, the pentagram, a powerful symbol in both occult and Hermetic teachings, represents the mastery of spirit over matter, mind over emotion. Visualizing the pentagram during moments of emotional intensity can help stabilize the mind and redirect the energy into a more constructive form. Similarly, chanting sacred words or mantras, such as I am statements, reinforces the practitioner's control over their emotional state. By declaring, "I am calm, I am powerful," or "I am love," the individual calls upon the higher self to take command, shifting the emotional energy toward a higher vibration. The journey of emotional alchemy is not one of repression or denial, but of transformation and empowerment. The adept learns that every emotion, no matter how dark or overwhelming, contains within it the potential for growth and enlightenment. Just as the alchemist turns lead into gold, the practitioner of mental alchemy turns fear into courage, anger into purpose, and desire into inspiration. Through this process, the adept becomes a master of their own inner world, no longer at the mercy of fleeting emotions but consciously directing them toward their highest spiritual goals. In doing so, they align with the divine will, channeling the infinite power of the universe through the purified vessel of the self. Ultimately, the alchemy of emotion is a lifelong practice, one that deepens as the practitioner grows in awareness and self-mastery. Each day presents new opportunities for transformation, new challenges to refine the soul. The goal is not to eliminate emotion but to learn how to use it as a tool for spiritual evolution. By transmuting lower desires into higher will, the adept not only achieves personal mastery but also aligns with the greater cosmic order, contributing to the harmony and balance of the universe. In this way, emotional alchemy is not just a personal journey. It is a sacred duty, a way of participating in the divine work of creation and transformation that flows through all of existence. Chapter 6: The Sacred Geometry of Thought. In the vast expanse of the universe, everything follows a pattern, an order that transcends the physical and enters the metaphysical. The ancients, those who walked the corridors of hidden knowledge, knew that geometry was not merely a tool for constructing buildings or charting the stars, but a sacred language. Through the shapes, angles, and forms that govern the cosmos, they saw reflections of divine intelligence. The Hermeticists, the Gnostics, and the Rosicrucians all revered sacred geometry as the blueprint of creation. To them, understanding the structure of the universe was akin to understanding the structure of thought itself. The mind, much like the cosmos, operates on patterns, repeating shapes, and structures that guide the flow of consciousness. By aligning one's thoughts with the sacred geometries of the universe, the adept can elevate consciousness, manifest desires, and unlock deeper layers of spiritual truth. Thoughts are not random, nor are they merely fleeting bursts of mental energy. In the esoteric traditions, thoughts are seen as structured forces that interact with the subtle energies of the universe. They are akin to shapes, mental constructs that hold form and intention. Much like the patterns of sacred geometry, thoughts can be clear and harmonious, or they can be chaotic and disordered. The adept who understands this principle recognizes the need for discipline in shaping their mental world, just as a craftsman carefully shapes each part of a sacred mandala. When the mind is chaotic, it reflects disorganized patterns, and life becomes filled with conflict and confusion. But when thoughts are aligned with the higher principles of sacred geometry, they become like the perfect symmetry of a flower, blooming in harmony with the universal forces. One of the most revered symbols in sacred geometry is the flower of life, an ancient pattern composed of multiple, evenly spaced, overlapping circles. This symbol, found in many mystical traditions, represents the interconnectedness of all life and the underlying order of the universe. Just as the circles in the flower of life are perfectly balanced and interconnected, so too must the adept strive to balance and interconnect their thoughts. The flower of life teaches that every thought influences the whole, just as every circle contributes to the overall pattern. When thoughts are aligned with this natural order, they become potent forces for manifestation, weaving seamlessly into the fabric of reality. Visualization of this symbol during meditation can help harmonize the mind, bringing thoughts into alignment with the cosmic pattern, allowing the practitioner to tap into the creative power of the universe. Sacred geometry also serves as a key to unlocking deeper layers of the subconscious mind. The subconscious, like the universe, is structured, containing patterns that influence behavior, belief systems, and emotional responses. These patterns are often hidden, but through the study and meditation on sacred symbols, the adept can access and reprogram these deeper aspects of the self. Symbols such as the Vesica Piscis, formed by the overlapping of two circles, creating an almond-shaped form, represent the union of opposites, the merging of the material and spiritual, the conscious and subconscious. Meditating on this symbol can help the practitioner bring balance to dualities within themselves, resolving inner conflicts and harmonizing opposing forces in their life. The Tetragrammaton, another sacred symbol revered in both Kabbalistic and Hermetic traditions, represents the divine name of God and the structure of creation itself. Composed of 4 Hebrew letters, Yod, He, Vav, and He, it encapsulates the elements of fire, water, air, and earth, the foundational elements that mirror the alchemical processes of transformation. The Tetragrammaton teaches that thought, like creation, is a process of balancing the elements. Each thought contains within it the potential to influence the material and spiritual worlds, just as the elements influence all aspects of existence. By meditating on the Tetragrammaton, the adept learns to balance their thoughts, ensuring that each is infused with the proper elemental energy: fire for willpower, water for emotion, air for intellect, and earth for grounding. This balance is essential for the manifestation of one's desires and the attainment of spiritual mastery. Just as the architect uses geometry to build physical structures, so too does the adept use sacred geometry to construct their mental and spiritual reality. Every thought is a building block, and the mind is the temple. In this temple, the sacred geometries of the universe are reflected in the organization and clarity of thought. The adept who masters this art becomes the architect of their own destiny, capable of shaping their life with precision and intention. Visualization exercises using sacred symbols such as the pentagram, the cube, and the golden ratio can further refine this mental architecture. These symbols act as keys, unlocking the potential within the mind to align with the greater order of the cosmos. Through this alignment, the practitioner gains access to higher wisdom, creative power, and the ability to manifest their will in the material world. The study of sacred geometry is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is a practice that engages both the mind and the spirit. Each symbol carries with it a vibration, a frequency that resonates with the deepest parts of the soul. By meditating on these symbols, the adept tunes their mind to these frequencies, aligning with the divine order that governs all things. In this state of alignment, the mind becomes a powerful tool for creation, capable of transcending the limitations of the material world and accessing the infinite potential of the spiritual realms. Through the practice of sacred geometry, the adept learns to see beyond the surface of reality, understanding that all things, thoughts, emotions, actions, are part of a larger, interconnected whole. Ultimately, the path of sacred geometry leads to the realization that the mind is a microcosm of the universe. Every thought, every emotion, every action reflects the greater patterns that govern existence. By mastering the sacred geometries of thought, the adept learns to navigate the complexities of life with grace and precision, transforming chaos into order, ignorance into wisdom, and limitation into infinite possibility. The mind, when properly aligned with these sacred patterns, becomes the philosopher's stone, capable of transmuting the base elements of human experience into the gold of spiritual enlightenment and material success. Through the sacred geometry of thought, the adept discovers the hidden blueprint of creation, realizing that they are both the architect and the creation, both the mind and the divine force that shapes reality. Chapter 7. The Philosopher's Stone, Unlocking Your Inner Creative Power. In the lore of the alchemists, The Philosopher's Stone is the most revered symbol, representing the culmination of all alchemical processes, the key to immortality, the transmutation of base metals into gold, and the elevation of the soul to its highest state of spiritual purity. Yet, the true Philosopher's Stone has always been a metaphor, an inner treasure that lies dormant within the depths of the human mind and spirit. It is the ultimate realization of one's creative power, the divine spark of consciousness that, when unlocked, transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. This stone is not a physical artifact but the manifestation of spiritual mastery, the attainment of complete self-knowledge and the ability to harness one's will to shape reality. As you embark on the journey of mental alchemy, you are, in essence, working to uncover this inner stone, the core of your being, where infinite creative potential resides. The process of uncovering the Philosopher's Stone is one of deep inner reflection and transformation. It begins with the recognition that, at the core of every individual, lies an untapped reservoir of creative power. This creative power is not merely the ability to manifest desires or achieve material success, though these are natural byproducts of its awakening. True creativity, as understood by the alchemists, is the ability to align oneself with the divine will, to act as a vessel for the cosmic forces that flow through all things. The Philosopher's Stone represents the harmonization of the personal will with the universal will, the merging of the lower self with the higher self. In this state, you become a co-creator with the universe, shaping your reality in accordance with the highest spiritual principles. The Rosicrucians and other mystical traditions have long taught that the path to the Philosopher's Stone requires the transmutation of the self, an alchemical process that mirrors the transformation of lead into gold. In alchemical terms, lead represents the base, unenlightened aspects of the self: fear, doubt, ignorance, and limitation. Gold, on the other hand, symbolizes the purified, enlightened state of consciousness, where the individual has transcended these limitations and discovered their true nature. To transmute lead into gold is to undergo a profound inner transformation, to shed the layers of false identity that obscure the divine essence within. This process, though challenging, is the key to unlocking the Philosopher's Stone, for it is only by releasing the attachments to the material and egoic self that the higher creative power can emerge. As you begin this journey of inner alchemy, you must recognize that the Philosopher's Stone is already within you, waiting to be discovered. The stone is not something you acquire from the outside world. Rather, it is a realization that arises from within. The act of creation, whether it be the creation of art, success, relationships, or spiritual growth, is a reflection of the inner alchemical process. The more you refine your thoughts, emotions, and actions, the closer you come to uncovering this inner stone. It is the work of a lifetime, yet each step along the path brings you closer to the realization of your true creative potential. This potential is infinite, for it is a reflection of the divine, and once you have awakened to it, you will find that there are no limits to what you can manifest in your life. To actively engage with this process, the ancient alchemists and mystics offered various practices, one of which is the ritual of visualization and affirmation. In this practice, you begin by quieting the mind through meditation, entering a state of inner stillness where the distractions of the material world fall away. Once you have entered this state, visualize the Philosopher's Stone within your heart center. See it as a radiant gem, glowing with the light of pure consciousness. As you hold this image in your mind, affirm that the stone represents your highest creative potential, the divine power within you to transform and create. Repeat this affirmation: I am the creator of my reality, and through the power of the Philosopher's Stone within, I manifest my highest desires in alignment with the divine will. Feel the energy of this statement resonating within you, activating the creative forces that have lain dormant for so long. The process of uncovering the Philosopher's Stone is not merely an intellectual exercise but a deeply spiritual one. It requires that you not only understand the principles of alchemy and creation but that you embody them in your everyday life. Every thought, every action, every choice you make is an opportunity to engage in the alchemical process of transformation. By maintaining a constant awareness of your inner creative power, you begin to live in a state of conscious creation. You no longer react to the world around you. Instead, you shape it through the power of your mind and will. This is the essence of true mastery, the realization that the world is not something that happens to you, but something you create from within. Through the ongoing practice of mental and spiritual alchemy, you will find that the boundaries between the inner and outer worlds begin to dissolve. The Philosopher's Stone, once an abstract symbol, becomes a living force within you, guiding your actions and shaping your reality. You become the master of your destiny, not through force or manipulation, but through alignment with the higher laws of the universe. The power of creation is no longer something you strive for. It is something you embody. In this state, the world responds to your will with effortless grace, for you have become a conscious participant in the divine act of creation. This is the true gift of the Philosopher's Stone, the realization that you are, and always have been, the creator of your reality. Through this realization, you unlock the full power of your mind and spirit, and the infinite potential of the cosmos becomes yours to wield. The journey to discovering the Philosopher's Stone is one of the deepest spiritual significance. It calls for dedication, patience, and unwavering commitment to inner growth. Yet, for those who choose to embark on this path, the rewards are beyond measure. The awakening of your inner creative power is not just the key to success in the material world, but the doorway to a higher state of consciousness, where you live in harmony with the divine forces that govern all things. Through the Philosopher's Stone, you transcend the limitations of the physical world and step into the realm of the eternal, where all things are possible, and where your true purpose is revealed. Chapter 8. From Base Metal to Gold, the Process of Inner Transmutation. In the alchemical traditions of old, the idea of turning base metals into gold captivated the imagination of seekers of wisdom. But the true purpose of this transformation was not material wealth, but the refinement of the soul, an inner journey of transmutation from ignorance to enlightenment, from limitation to boundless potential. The lead that alchemists sought to change into gold was not just physical but symbolic of the base, unrefined aspects of the human mind and spirit. In the same way, the gold they pursued represented the highest state of consciousness, the realization of one's divine nature, and the mastery of the self. This alchemical process, often referred to as the Great Work, speaks directly to the heart of personal transformation, where mental impurities are burned away, and the true, eternal essence of the soul is revealed. The first stage of this inner alchemy, known as negredo, or the blackening, is the phase of dissolution. It is the breaking down of the ego and the dismantling of false identities that keep us trapped in limitation and ignorance. In this stage, one must face the darkest aspects of the self, the doubts, fears, limiting beliefs, and illusions that have been carried for lifetimes. Just as the alchemist's furnace burns away the dross from the metal, so too must the fire of inner truth burn away the falsehoods that obscure the light of the soul. This is not a comfortable process, for it requires the courage to confront the shadow, the parts of ourselves we have denied or suppressed. Yet, it is essential, for only by stripping away these layers can we access the deeper, purer essence within. Once the dross has been burned away, the alchemical process moves into the second stage, albedo, or the whitening. In this phase, the soul is purified and cleansed, emerging from the darkness of ignorance into the light of self-awareness. This is the stage where the individual begins to reconnect with their true nature, free from the limitations of the ego. It is a time of spiritual renewal, where the mind is cleared of the clutter of negative thought patterns, and the heart is open to higher wisdom. In albedo, one begins to see the world through the eyes of the soul, rather than the eyes of the ego. It is a profound shift in perception, where the individual recognizes their connection to the divine and begins to align their actions with this higher truth. The final stage of the alchemical process is rubedo, or the reddening, which represents the culmination of the great work. Here, the soul, now purified and enlightened, is fully integrated with the divine will. This is the stage of spiritual mastery, where the individual has not only transcended the limitations of the ego but has also learned to use the creative powers of the mind to manifest their highest desires in alignment with universal law. Rubedo is the realization of one's true purpose and the ability to live in harmony with both the material and spiritual realms. The individual who reaches this stage has become an alchemist of the soul, capable of transforming their inner and outer worlds through the power of consciousness and will. This process of transmutation, of turning base metal into gold, is not just a one-time event but a continual cycle of growth and transformation. Each time we encounter a new challenge, doubt, or fear, we are given the opportunity to engage in the alchemical process once more. Every setback, every failure, is another piece of lead waiting to be transformed into the gold of wisdom and spiritual growth. The key to success in this process lies in understanding that every challenge is an opportunity for refinement, that the obstacles we face are the very elements we need to transmute in order to progress on our spiritual path. Practical application of this alchemical wisdom begins with self-awareness. You must first identify the base metals in your life, the limiting beliefs, fears, and doubts that hold you back from realizing your full potential. This requires honest introspection and the willingness to confront the shadow aspects of the self. Once these base elements have been identified, the next step is to apply the heat of consciousness to them. This is done through meditation, reflection, and spiritual practice, where the impurities of the mind are burned away and the true essence of the soul begins to shine through. Finally, as the process of inner alchemy continues, you will begin to see the gold emerging within, the higher wisdom, clarity, and creative power that were always there, waiting to be uncovered. The journey from base metal to gold is a lifelong process of transformation and growth. It is the path of the spiritual alchemist, the seeker of truth who understands that the most valuable treasure lies not in the external world, but within the depths of the self. By embracing this process of inner transmutation, you will discover that the obstacles and limitations you once thought insurmountable are, in fact, the very raw materials you need to achieve mastery and success. Every challenge is a gift, every failure a lesson, and every moment an opportunity to refine the lead of the lower self into the gold of the higher self. In this way, you will not only transform your own life but also become a beacon of light for others, guiding them on their own journey of alchemical transformation. Through the ancient wisdom of alchemy, you are given the tools to transcend the limitations of the physical and mental worlds. The process of turning base metal into gold is a metaphor for the ultimate act of creation, the creation of the enlightened self, free from doubt, fear, and ignorance. By engaging in this great work, you unlock the true potential of your mind and spirit, aligning yourself with the divine forces that govern the universe. In doing so, you not only achieve success in the material world but also attain the highest form of spiritual mastery. You become the alchemist of your own destiny, capable of transforming every aspect of your life into the pure gold of wisdom, power, and fulfillment. Chapter 9. The Power of the Word, Vibrations, Incantations, and Manifestation. In the beginning, there was the Word, and from the Word, all creation sprang forth. This is the core teaching found across many mystical traditions, where the spoken word is not simply a means of communication but a force of creation. In esoteric philosophy, the word is understood to carry the vibrational energy of thought made manifest, and through the use of words, one can direct the hidden currents of the universe. The ancient Gnostics spoke of logos, the divine word that holds within it the creative essence of the cosmos. Similarly, in Hermeticism, the universe is seen as mental, and through the vibrational power of words, the mind can shape reality. Words, when imbued with intention, serve as the bridge between the mental and material realms, the vehicle through which thought becomes form and desire becomes reality. The use of incantations, mantras, and affirmations in mystical traditions is deeply rooted in this understanding of vibrational energy. Incantations, in particular, are seen as a form of concentrated energy, where the repetition of sacred words, combined with focused intention, generates a powerful force capable of influencing both the inner and outer worlds. The repetition of a word or phrase strengthens its vibrational resonance, aligning the speaker's inner frequency with the desired outcome. In ancient Egypt, priests would intone sacred sounds that mirrored the vibrations of the cosmos, believing that through sound, they could harmonize with divine forces. The Rosicrucians, too, understood the importance of vibrational alignment and practiced the sacred science of the word, using sound as a method of invoking higher powers and transmuting personal limitations into spiritual strength. The vibrational power of words is intimately linked with the Hermetic principle of vibration, which states that everything in the universe moves and vibrates at its own frequency. By speaking words that resonate with specific frequencies, you can align yourself with the vibrational patterns that correspond to your desired outcomes. For example, words spoken in anger or fear carry a low vibration, attracting similar low-frequency experiences into your life. Conversely, words spoken in love, confidence, or empowerment vibrate at a higher frequency, attracting positive outcomes. This understanding of vibration can be used to shift not only external circumstances but also the internal state of mind. Through carefully chosen words, one can reprogram the subconscious mind, replacing limiting beliefs with empowering thoughts, and creating a new vibrational baseline from which to manifest. Mantras and sacred chants have long been used as tools for mental and spiritual transformation. In Eastern esoteric traditions, the practice of mantra chanting is a way of tuning the body, mind, and spirit to the divine frequency. Each syllable of a mantra holds a specific vibrational quality, which interacts with the chakras, the subtle energy centers of the body. Through consistent repetition of these sacred sounds, the practitioner can purify their energetic field, align their consciousness with higher states of being, and manifest their intentions with greater ease. In a similar vein, Western mystical traditions use invocations, where specific words or phrases are repeated to call upon divine forces, angels, or elemental energies. These words, often spoken with deep reverence and focused intent, serve as conduits for the energies they invoke, allowing the practitioner to access and channel the desired force. In practical terms, you can harness the power of words by incorporating affirmations, mantras, or invocations into your daily spiritual practice. The key is to use words that resonate with the reality you wish to create, ensuring that your speech aligns with your intentions. Affirmations, when spoken regularly, act as seeds planted in the subconscious mind, gradually shifting the mental landscape to align with higher truths. For example, if you are seeking to overcome fear, a simple yet powerful affirmation might be, "I am fearless and aligned with my highest power." Repeated daily, this affirmation not only reprograms the subconscious mind but also raises your vibrational frequency to match the energy of fearlessness. Similarly, mantras such as Om Mani Padme Hum or I am that I am carry immense vibrational power and can be used to connect with divine energies, guiding you toward inner peace and spiritual enlightenment. The magic of words lies not only in their meaning but in their vibrational essence. When spoken with clear intention and emotional alignment, words have the ability to shape the energetic field around you, influencing both your inner state and the world you interact with. This is the foundational principle behind many magical and spiritual practices, where the practitioner becomes aware of the immense creative power they wield through speech. In every conversation, in every thought spoken aloud, there is an opportunity to align with higher truth or descend into the lower realms of fear and limitation. Understanding the creative force of words allows you to take conscious control of your reality, transforming your life from the inside out. Thus, the spoken word becomes a key tool in the alchemical process of mental and spiritual transformation. When you consciously choose words that reflect the reality you wish to create, you align yourself with the higher laws of the universe, tapping into the divine flow of creation. The mastery of speech, therefore, is not simply about avoiding negativity but about consciously directing the vibrational energy of words toward the manifestation of your highest good. By doing so, you not only transform your own life but also influence the collective vibrational field of those around you, spreading the energy of empowerment, healing, and divine wisdom. As you continue on your path of mental alchemy, remember that every word spoken is a spell cast into the fabric of reality. Choose your words wisely, and let them reflect the light of your highest self. Chapter 10. The Third Eye and Higher Vision, Awakening the Spiritual Mind. In the realm of esoteric wisdom, the third eye has always been revered as the seat of higher consciousness, the bridge between the mundane and the divine. Known as the Ajna chakra in Eastern traditions and symbolized by the Eye of Horus in ancient Egyptian lore, the third eye is the organ of spiritual vision, allowing one to perceive truths that lie beyond ordinary sight. Awakening the third eye is not merely about accessing psychic abilities but about opening the mind to the deeper currents of the cosmos, seeing reality with a clarity that dissolves illusions and reveals the interconnectedness of all things. It is the center through which spiritual insight, intuition, and inner wisdom flow, and activating this center is one of the most important steps on the path to self-mastery. The concept of the third eye is deeply rooted in esoteric traditions, where it is often associated with the pineal gland, a small, pine cone-shaped structure in the brain. The pineal gland has been linked to mystical experiences throughout history, and many occult scholars believe it to be the physical manifestation of the spiritual third eye. In Gnostic and Hermetic teachings, the third eye is referred to as the inner eye, or eye of the mind, which allows one to see beyond the veils of material reality. It is through the activation of this inner sight that one can perceive the hidden forces at play, understand the deeper workings of universal laws, and unlock the mysteries of the soul's journey. By learning to look through this eye, the seeker gains access to higher dimensions of consciousness, enabling them to transcend the limitations of the physical senses and the egoic mind. Opening the third eye requires both discipline and surrender. It is a delicate balance between cultivating awareness and allowing the deeper truths of the universe to flow into consciousness without interference. Meditation, breathwork, and visualization are key practices in awakening this center of higher perception. In many esoteric schools, the third eye is seen as a portal through which the soul can access higher realms of existence and communicate with divine intelligences. For the Rosicrucians, the third eye represents the mystical ability to perceive the invisible college, a concept that refers to the higher wisdom that exists beyond physical senses, accessible only to those who have attuned their inner faculties. The practice of contemplation, coupled with spiritual exercises designed to refine the mind's ability to perceive subtle energies, helps in awakening this latent power. Once activated, the third eye brings about a profound shift in consciousness, where the seeker no longer perceives reality as fragmented or separate. Instead, they begin to see the unity that underlies all things. The third eye opens the path to intuitive knowledge, allowing insights to arise spontaneously without the need for linear reasoning or analysis. This intuitive wisdom is often described as gnosis in Gnostic teachings, a direct, experiential knowing of the divine. Unlike knowledge acquired through books or teachings, Gnosis is a personal revelation that emerges from deep within the soul. As the third eye awakens, it becomes a channel for this Gnosis, illuminating the path ahead and offering clarity in situations where the ordinary mind would struggle. However, with the gift of higher vision comes the responsibility of discernment. Not all that is seen through the third eye is meant to be acted upon or shared. The teachings of Hermeticism and other mystical traditions caution against the misuse of spiritual sight for personal gain or manipulation. The third eye is a sacred tool meant for spiritual growth, not a vehicle for egoic pursuits. Therefore, as you awaken this faculty, it is essential to remain grounded in humility and aligned with the highest principles of love, wisdom, and truth. The more you cultivate a pure heart and a focused mind, the clearer your vision will become, and the more you will be able to navigate the spiritual realms with integrity and grace. In practical terms, one of the most powerful exercises for awakening the third eye is focused meditation on the point between the eyebrows, the physical location traditionally associated with this energy center. As you meditate, visualize a radiant indigo or violet light glowing at this point, growing brighter and more intense with each breath. Allow yourself to relax into this visualization, letting go of any mental chatter or distractions. Over time, as your focus deepens, you may begin to feel a slight pressure or tingling sensation in the area of your third eye. This is a sign that the energy is awakening and that you are attuning to higher frequencies of consciousness. As this process unfolds, you may start to experience heightened intuition, vivid dreams, or spontaneous flashes of insight. These are all indications that your third eye is becoming active. Another practice that complements third eye activation is working with sacred geometry and mandalas. These powerful visual tools help focus the mind and align it with the harmonic patterns of the universe. By meditating on geometric shapes such as the flower of life or the vesica piscis, you stimulate the third eye and bring it into resonance with the underlying structure of reality. This practice not only enhances your ability to perceive spiritual truths but also sharpens your mental clarity and strengthens your intuitive faculties. The combination of geometric meditation and third eye focus is a potent method for developing higher vision and accessing the deep well of wisdom that resides within you. The awakening of the third eye is not an end in itself but a gateway to greater spiritual evolution. It is through this eye that the soul begins to perceive its true nature and purpose. As you develop this faculty, you will find that your ability to discern the truth in all matters becomes sharper, your sense of connection to the divine more profound, and your capacity to manifest your highest vision more effortless. The journey of awakening the third eye is a journey toward inner mastery, where the veil of illusion is lifted and the radiant light of divine wisdom shines through. By cultivating this sacred sight, you unlock the door to the infinite, and your life becomes a reflection of the highest truths that the universe has to offer. As you continue to explore the depths of your spiritual journey, remember that the third eye is both a tool and a symbol of inner transformation. It represents the union of intellect and intuition, the balance of reason and mystical insight. Through its awakening, you step into the role of a true alchemist of the mind, capable of transforming not only your own life but the world around you. With this higher vision, you become a beacon of light, seeing through the illusions of the material world and guiding others toward the path of spiritual freedom. Let the light of your third eye illuminate the way, and allow the wisdom you uncover to flow through every aspect of your being. Chapter 11. The Art of Mental Transmutation, Practical Exercises for Mind Mastery. In the sacred traditions of alchemy, transmutation is the art of transforming base elements into their most refined and exalted forms. Just as ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold, the spiritual seeker engages in a similar process within the mind, transmuting negative thoughts, emotions, and limiting beliefs into the pure essence of wisdom, clarity, and power. The process of mental transmutation is rooted in the Hermetic tradition, which teaches that everything in the universe is mental in nature. By mastering the art of mental transmutation, you are not merely shaping your inner landscape, but also the outer circumstances of your life. This chapter explores the profound art of mental alchemy and offers practical exercises to train the mind, elevate the spirit, and manifest one's highest potential. At the heart of Hermetic philosophy lies the principle of mentalism, which declares, "the all is mind." This foundational truth teaches that the universe is, at its core, a mental construct, and that every thought, emotion, and belief contributes to the fabric of reality. In this sense, the mind is the alchemical furnace where transformation occurs. The lead of doubt, fear, and limitation can be dissolved, reshaped, and reformed into the gold of empowerment, wisdom, and success. However, this process requires both an understanding of mental laws and a disciplined practice of applying them. Through intentional thought, focused will, and spiritual discipline, one can master the art of mental transmutation and harness the creative power of the mind to shape reality according to divine purpose. The first step in mental transmutation is becoming fully aware of the mental patterns that govern your thoughts and behaviors. In esoteric traditions, this is often referred to as self-observation or mindfulness. Through conscious observation, you begin to identify the mental habits that keep you locked in cycles of doubt or fear. It is essential to recognize that your mind is constantly at work, creating or dismantling your reality. Every thought carries with it the power to either construct or deconstruct the framework of your life. Therefore, to become an alchemist of the mind, you must first become a vigilant observer, noting the thoughts that arise without judgment, and then consciously choosing which thoughts to nourish and which to transmute. This level of awareness is the foundation upon which mental mastery is built. One powerful method for mental transmutation is through the practice of reframing. Reframing is the act of consciously altering the perspective from which you view a situation, thereby transforming its meaning. This technique draws directly from the Hermetic law of polarity, which teaches that all truths are but half-truths, and every experience can be viewed from opposite angles. For example, a failure can be perceived either as a defeat or as an opportunity for growth and learning. Through the practice of reframing, you take the lead of a negative experience or limiting belief and transmute it into the gold of personal power and expanded awareness. This process is not about denying reality but about choosing the most empowering interpretation of events and thus altering the vibrational frequency of your mind. Another essential technique in mental transmutation is the use of affirmation and incantation. Words are powerful vessels of thought, and when spoken with intention and focus, they have the capacity to reshape your mental and energetic fields. In many esoteric traditions, the spoken word is considered a sacred force, a bridge between the mental and material realms. By crafting affirmations that align with your highest vision of yourself, you engage in the alchemical process of reshaping your mental patterns. An affirmation is not a simple statement but a declaration of divine truth, a command issued from the higher self to the subconscious mind. When repeated consistently, affirmations work to reprogram your mental landscape, transmuting doubt into certainty and fear into confidence. Visualization, too, is a potent tool in the art of mental transmutation. The mind does not distinguish between imagined and actual experiences. Therefore, when you visualize a desired outcome with clarity and emotion, you are creating a mental blueprint for that outcome to manifest in the material world. The key to effective visualization is emotional engagement, feeling as though the desired outcome has already occurred. This creates a vibrational alignment between your inner state and the external reality you seek to manifest. In esoteric practice, visualization is often combined with symbols, sacred geometry, or specific rituals to enhance its potency. As you visualize, imagine the base energies of fear, limitation, or doubt dissolving into light, and feel yourself ascending into a state of empowerment, wisdom, and spiritual clarity. Beyond these individual techniques lies the overarching principle of mental discipline. Mental transmutation is not a single event but an ongoing process, requiring consistent effort and focus. Just as the alchemist's work in the laboratory requires patience, precision, and attention to detail, so too does the work of transmuting the mind. This discipline involves not only the transformation of specific thoughts or beliefs but also the cultivation of a higher state of consciousness. Through meditation, contemplation, and daily spiritual practice, you strengthen your mind's ability to remain centered, focused, and aligned with the higher truths of the universe. The more disciplined you become in your mental practice, the more easily you will navigate the challenges of life, transmuting every obstacle into an opportunity for growth and mastery. As you engage in the practices of mental transmutation, it is important to remember that this work is a process of refinement, not perfection. The path of the mental alchemist is one of continuous evolution, where each challenge or setback offers an opportunity for deeper transformation. There will be moments when the mind resists change, when old patterns seem stubbornly persistent. In these moments, it is crucial to practice patience and compassion, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, contributes to the greater alchemical process of self-mastery. Trust that with each exercise, each meditation, and each conscious thought, you are shaping yourself into the highest version of your being, transmuting the lead of limitation into the gold of divine power. Ultimately, mental transmutation is the path to true freedom. By mastering the mind, you master your reality. You are no longer a passive recipient of external circumstances but an active creator, shaping your life with intention, wisdom, and spiritual authority. The practice of mental alchemy empowers you to rise above the illusions of doubt and fear, to see beyond the surface of material reality, and to align yourself with the deeper truths of the cosmos. As you continue on this path, you will discover that the Philosopher's Stone, the key to ultimate transformation, has been within you all along. Through the sacred art of mental transmutation, you unlock the infinite potential of your mind, turning every thought, every emotion, and every experience into an opportunity for spiritual growth and divine expression. The journey of mental transmutation is one of profound self-discovery and empowerment. It is a journey that transforms not only the individual but also the world around them. For as you change your mind, you change your reality. And as you change your reality, you contribute to the transformation of the collective consciousness. In this way, the practice of mental alchemy becomes not only a personal pursuit but a sacred service to the evolution of humanity and the awakening of the divine within all. Chapter 12. Living the Alchemical Life, Turning Doubt into Power Every Day. To live the life of an alchemist is to recognize that every thought, action, and experience is a stepping stone in the grand journey of transformation. The process of mental alchemy, much like its physical counterpart, is not a singular event but an ongoing unfolding of potential. It is the constant refining of the soul, the mind, and the spirit through the everyday challenges and opportunities that life presents. The mental alchemist understands that doubt, fear, and limitation are not obstacles to avoid but raw materials to be transmuted into wisdom, courage, and empowerment. By committing to the daily practice of inner alchemy, one can harness the power of each moment to elevate the self and live a life in alignment with the highest spiritual truths. In the esoteric traditions, life itself is often referred to as a great school, a crucible of experiences designed to awaken the soul to its divine potential. The ancient Rosicrucians spoke of the invisible college, a concept that suggests life is a constant teacher, and every interaction, challenge, or victory serves as a lesson in the alchemical process of self-mastery. The alchemist views the world not as a static reality to be endured, but as a dynamic, ever-changing landscape of opportunities for transformation. By adopting this mindset, one learns to perceive setbacks not as failures but as the lead from which gold is refined. The key lies in the alchemist's perspective: to see every moment as sacred, every challenge as a lesson, and every doubt as a doorway to greater wisdom. The practice of daily alchemy requires a disciplined approach to both the inner and outer worlds. It begins with cultivating awareness, an unshakable presence in the present moment. This awareness is the foundation of all alchemical work, for without it, the mind drifts into unconscious patterns of thought and behavior, reinforcing old limitations. Through mindfulness, the alchemist keeps watch over the mind, gently guiding it back to the center whenever it strays into the realms of doubt or fear. This practice of inner vigilance is akin to the ancient art of tending a sacred flame. The flame of awareness must be carefully nourished, protected from the winds of distraction, and allowed to burn brightly as a beacon of clarity and purpose. One of the most powerful tools in the alchemist's daily practice is ritual. In esoteric traditions, ritual is not merely a symbolic act, but a tangible method of aligning the inner and outer worlds. A well-designed ritual serves to anchor the alchemist's intentions in the physical realm, creating a bridge between thought and manifestation. Whether it is a morning meditation to set the tone for the day, a symbolic gesture of gratitude at sunset, or a visualization exercise to transmute doubt into confidence, rituals offer the alchemist a structured way to work with the energies of the universe. These rituals need not be elaborate. Even the simplest acts, when performed with intention and focus, carry the weight of spiritual significance. They serve as reminders of the alchemist's power to shape their reality and their responsibility to direct that power toward their highest good. Another essential aspect of living the alchemical life is the practice of self-reflection. Just as the physical alchemist would study the results of their experiments, adjusting and refining their process, the mental alchemist must regularly reflect on their thoughts, actions, and experiences. This process of self-reflection allows for deeper insight into the workings of the mind and the patterns that may still need to be transmuted. It is through this practice that the alchemist identifies the subtle doubts or fears that may linger beneath the surface, unnoticed yet powerful in their influence. By bringing these hidden elements into the light of awareness, the alchemist can begin the work of transforming them, using the tools of mental transmutation, reframing, and visualization to reforge the mind into a vessel of strength and clarity. Living as an alchemist also means recognizing the cyclical nature of transformation. Just as the seasons turn and the moon waxes and wanes, the alchemical process follows its own rhythm of dissolution and renewal. There will be periods of intense growth, where the lead of doubt is quickly transmuted into the gold of insight and empowerment. And there will be times of stillness, where the alchemist must patiently allow the work to unfold in its own time. In these quieter moments, it is important to trust in the process, knowing that even when progress seems slow or invisible, the forces of transformation are always at work. The alchemist honors these cycles, embracing both the active and the reflective phases of the journey, understanding that both are necessary for true mastery. Ultimately, to live the alchemical life is to live with intention, mindfulness, and a deep connection to the mysteries of the universe. It is to recognize that every thought is a seed, every word a spell, and every action a ripple in the fabric of reality. The alchemist walks through life with a sense of purpose, knowing that they are both the creator and the creation, the artist and the masterpiece. By mastering the mind, they master their destiny, and by mastering their destiny, they contribute to the greater work of universal evolution. This is the true essence of mental alchemy, the realization that as we transmute our inner world, we transform the outer world, and in doing so, we align ourselves with the divine flow of creation. As you continue to practice the art of mental alchemy, remember that it is a lifelong journey, not a destination. Each day offers a new opportunity to refine your thoughts, elevate your emotions, and align your actions with your highest truth. The Philosopher's Stone is not a distant treasure to be found but a state of being that you cultivate through your daily choices, your inner discipline, and your unwavering commitment to self-mastery. With each step you take on this path, you come closer to realizing your full potential as an alchemist of the mind and a creator of your own destiny. The power is within you, and the time to begin is now. In the final analysis, the alchemical life is a life of deep purpose, connection, and transformation. It is a path that leads not only to personal success but to spiritual fulfillment and universal harmony. As you embrace this path, you will discover that the doubts and limitations that once seemed insurmountable are, in fact, the very catalysts for your greatest growth. The lead of fear and uncertainty is the raw material from which the gold of wisdom and power is forged. And as you master the art of mental transmutation, you will find that there is no challenge too great, no obstacle too formidable, for the true alchemist who walks in harmony with the divine laws of the universe. Chapter 13. Mastery of the Higher and Lower Self, the Final Transmutation. In the ancient teachings of alchemy, the ultimate goal is not simply the transmutation of base metals into gold but the mastery of the self, both the higher divine aspect and the lower, earthly nature. This duality exists within every individual, and the journey of mental and spiritual alchemy is about reconciling these two aspects. To master the higher and lower self is to achieve true wholeness, where neither part is rejected, but rather, both are integrated and harmonized. This is the final transmutation, the culmination of the great work, where the individual is no longer at war with their inner duality but has transformed it into a source of power, wisdom, and divine alignment. The lower self, often referred to as the ego or the animal nature, is concerned with survival, physical desires, and the material world. It is the part of us that reacts with fear, doubt, and instinctual responses. In Gnostic and esoteric teachings, the lower self is seen as necessary but limited in scope. It binds the soul to the physical realm and obscures the true spiritual potential. The higher self, on the other hand, is the divine aspect of our being, the eternal, unchanging spark of consciousness that exists beyond the confines of time, space, and matter. It is through this higher self that we connect with the divine mind, with the cosmic order, and with the infinite potential of the universe. To master these two selves, one must first understand the role that each plays in the alchemical process. The lower self is not something to be eradicated or denied, for it is through the challenges and limitations of the lower self that the soul gains the experience and knowledge necessary for growth. The alchemist does not seek to destroy the lower self but to transmute it, to purify and elevate it so that it serves the higher purpose of spiritual evolution. In this way, the lower self becomes a powerful ally in the pursuit of enlightenment, providing the raw material needed for the alchemical work of transformation. The process of integrating the higher and lower selves begins with awareness. The alchemist must observe the thoughts, emotions, and desires that arise from the lower self without judgment, seeing them as opportunities for growth and refinement. This awareness is the first step in the transmutation process, for it allows the alchemist to recognize the patterns and tendencies that keep them bound to the material world. Through practices such as meditation, self-reflection, and inner dialogue, the alchemist can begin to bring these unconscious patterns into the light of consciousness, where they can be transformed. Once the lower self has been acknowledged and understood, the next step is to align it with the higher self. This requires a shift in perspective, from a focus on immediate gratification and material concerns to a broader understanding of one's place within the cosmic order. The higher self sees beyond the limitations of the physical world and recognizes that true power lies in aligning with the divine will. Through this alignment, the alchemist can direct the energy of the lower self toward higher purposes, transforming base desires into spiritual aspirations. This is the essence of the alchemical process, turning the lead of the lower self into the gold of spiritual mastery. One of the most powerful tools for achieving this integration is the practice of inner alchemy, where the individual actively engages in the process of transforming their inner world. This can take the form of visualization, where the alchemist imagines the lower self as a leaden substance being purified in the crucible of the mind, gradually transmuting into the golden light of the higher self. It can also involve rituals and meditations designed to strengthen the connection between the two aspects of the self, allowing the lower self to be guided and refined by the wisdom of the higher self. Another important aspect of this work is shadow integration. The lower self often contains aspects of the psyche that have been rejected or suppressed, fears, desires, or traits that are deemed unacceptable. These aspects, known as the shadow, can become powerful obstacles if left unacknowledged. The alchemist must confront and integrate the shadow, bringing these hidden elements into the light of awareness and transforming them into sources of strength. By embracing the shadow, the alchemist gains access to the full spectrum of their being, using every part of the self as a tool for growth and empowerment. The final stage of this process is the unification of the higher and lower selves. When the alchemist has successfully transmuted the lower self and integrated the shadow, they achieve a state of inner harmony. In this state, the individual is no longer divided, but whole, able to move through the world with the full power of both the material and spiritual aspects of their being. This is the state of the Philosopher's Stone, where the alchemist becomes a master of their own destiny, capable of creating their reality in alignment with the highest spiritual truths. At this stage of the journey, the alchemist has achieved mastery over the self, but the work does not end here. The great work is an ongoing process, a continual refinement of the self in pursuit of ever greater levels of wisdom and enlightenment. Each new challenge, each new doubt, becomes an opportunity for further growth, and the alchemist approaches life with the understanding that the journey is eternal. There is always more to learn, more to refine, more to transmute. This is the path of the alchemist, a path of endless discovery, transformation, and mastery. The mastery of the higher and lower selves is the pinnacle of the alchemical journey. It is the point at which the individual becomes whole, where the material and spiritual aspects of the self are united in harmony. Through this union, the alchemist gains access to the full power of their being, capable of shaping their reality in alignment with the divine will. This is the true meaning of transmutation, the transformation of the self into a vessel of divine wisdom and power. And as the alchemist continues to walk this path, they will discover that the journey never truly ends, for the process of self-mastery is as infinite as the cosmos itself. As we approach the conclusion, if you've been enjoying the audiobook, don't forget to like the video. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway has been. Conclusion: The Gold Within, Your Journey of Mental and Spiritual Mastery. The journey of mental and spiritual alchemy, as explored throughout this book, is one of profound transformation. It is a path that transcends mere personal development and delves into the deepest mysteries of the self and the universe. At its core, this journey is about recognizing and claiming the innate power that resides within each of us, the Philosopher's Stone, the divine spark, the eternal source of creative potential. It is the process of turning the base metal of our fears, doubts, and limitations into the gold of wisdom, power, and mastery. This journey is both personal and universal, as it reflects the ancient quest for knowledge, freedom, and enlightenment that has been the heart of esoteric traditions for millennia. Through the lens of ancient wisdom, from Hermeticism to Gnosticism, Rosicrucianism to alchemy, we have explored how the mind functions as the crucible for this transformation. We have delved into the nature of limiting beliefs, false perceptions, and the illusions that keep us bound to the material world. These chains of ignorance, created by the ego and reinforced by societal conditioning, have long obscured the truth of who we are. But the teachings of the sages and mystics remind us that these chains can be broken. They offer us the keys to liberation, showing us that we are not merely passive participants in life but active creators of our own reality. The alchemical process we have explored, dissolving and coagulating, breaking down the old to create something new, is not a passive one. It requires courage, discipline, and patience. It demands that we confront the shadow, face our deepest fears, and transmute them into sources of strength. Each step in this journey is a step toward freedom, as we move from ignorance to gnosis, from doubt to certainty, from fear to love. This is the true essence of the alchemical process, a continual refining of the self, where each challenge becomes an opportunity for greater wisdom and mastery. But the great work, as the alchemists call it, is not a destination, it is an eternal process. The moment we believe we have reached the pinnacle of our growth, the universe reveals new layers of mystery for us to explore. Every experience, every encounter, every challenge offers us the raw material for further transformation. This is the nature of the alchemical life, to live in a state of constant refinement, always seeking to elevate the self and align more fully with the divine order of the cosmos. The Philosopher's Stone is not a final achievement, but an evolving state of being, where the mind, heart, and spirit are in harmony, continuously attuned to the higher truths of existence. As you reflect on the wisdom shared in this book, remember that the power to transform your life lies entirely within you. The ancient teachings are a guide, but the work is yours to do. The mind is your crucible, your thoughts and emotions the raw material. The higher self is the divine alchemist, and through your will, you have the power to transmute every doubt, fear, and limiting belief into pure gold. This is not merely a metaphor, it is a lived reality for those who embrace the path of mental and spiritual mastery. As you move forward, continue to apply the practices and teachings you have encountered here. Cultivate the discipline of self-observation, constantly refining your thoughts and emotions. Engage in rituals of transformation, using the power of symbols, words, and intention to shape your reality. Embrace the duality within, the higher and lower self, and seek to harmonize them through the process of inner alchemy. Remember that every challenge, no matter how daunting, is an opportunity for growth. And most importantly, trust in your own power. The gold you seek is already within you. It is the core of your being, the essence of your soul, waiting to be revealed through the fire of transformation. The path of mental and spiritual alchemy is a journey of self-mastery, where the individual moves from ignorance to enlightenment, from limitation to freedom. It is a journey that transcends time and space, for it is the journey of the soul seeking to reunite with its divine source. The teachings of the ancient mystics remind us that we are not separate from the divine but are expressions of it, capable of manifesting its power in our own lives. The Philosopher's Stone, the ultimate symbol of alchemical mastery, is not a physical object but a state of consciousness, a state where the mind, heart, and spirit are united in harmony, creating a life of purpose, power, and peace. As you walk this path, may you continue to uncover the gold within, refining and transforming yourself with each step. The journey is eternal, and the rewards are infinite. You are the alchemist, the creator of your destiny, and the master of your own reality. Trust in the process, embrace the mysteries, and let the divine wisdom of the ages guide you to the fullness of your potential. This is the true meaning of mental and spiritual alchemy, the transmutation of the self into its highest, most radiant form, where the light of the divine shines through every thought, every action, and every moment of your life. May the gold within you shine ever brighter, as you continue on your journey of mastery and enlightenment.